Hi, everyone. Welcome to Enjoy English. I'm Steven.
I'm Anthony.
Today's date is May 28th. For the next 2 days, please look at pages 52 to 55 under Science. And the title is How One Moment Can Shape Our View.
Yeah, 到了我们探索科学的单元了。我们今天要介绍的是一个瞬间，一眼瞬间如何去左右我们的看法。很多时候，人家讲说什么第一印象非常非常重要。事实上呢，事实上我们在心理学上面，常常我们会在短时间之内就收集资讯，然后用我们的理解去看说啊，这个人大概怎么样。比方说今天我看到 Steven 老师的时候，感觉皮肤黑黑的，那应该很擅长运动吧，就开始做一些推断跟推测。但有的时候这种推断是正确的，有的时候这种推断呢，很可能会落入一种类似那种偏见、以偏概全的可能性。那我们今天这个主题呢，就是在介绍这个地方。他说 ，How one moment can shape our view。这个地方的 view 呢，指的是point of view, our point of view, 我们的观点 or you can say our viewpoint, 好，指的就是观点的意思。那这边的话的副标题写说 Think twice before you judge. Judge 就是下判断，在你下判断之前呢，你再想一想，三思而后行。
Right, and you're right. I actually hate exercising. So
你看
it's a bias.
对，没错。
All right, let's get started.
How one moment can shape our view. When you look at the sun, it sometimes appears much larger than its actual size. The circle of light that makes it look bigger is called a halo. In psychology, this idea is used as a metaphor to describe a mental shortcut known as the halo effect. This phenomenon occurs when people form an overall impression of a person based on a single positive trait. If one good quality is observed in an individual, the brain often unconsciously creates a halo around that person. As a result, people tend to make quick judgments and assume the person's other traits are positive as well. For instance, in school, a teacher might favor a student just because the student is always polite and well-behaved. Similarly, if a coworker graduated from a top university, others might automatically assume they will perform well at work. These examples show how a favorable first impression can be misleading. Trusting first impressions too much often results in poor decision-making because not all the relevant facts are examined. While these quick judgments can help us save time, they stop us from seeing others objectively. Learning about the halo effect can help us judge others more fairly.
When you look at the sun, it sometimes appears much larger than its actual size.
好，我们来看一下第一段第一句话。他说 ，When you look at the sun， 好 ，the sun 这个地方 s 要记得大写，对不对？当你看着太阳的时候 ，it sometimes appears much larger than its actual size。看起来它会比实际的大小要大得多。基本上我不会特别去看它，因为我眼睛有点怕光哦。但如果说今天你拿的那个可能玻璃纸啦或什么去看，稍微挡一下的话，就觉得好像太阳看得比实际你看到的比实际上的还要更大一点点。好，先讲到这个现象。
Yes, I think that's a good point to bring up because experts do say don't stare at the sun directly. But sometimes you see it out of the corner of your eye. 从余光会看到 you see that you think it's a lot larger than it actually is. The circle of light that makes it look bigger is called a halo.
没错。第二句话告诉你说 ，the circle of light， 好，这个光的这种一圈光环啦 ，that makes it look bigger， 看起来让它变得更大，那个光环光圈呢 ，is called a halo， 就是指日晕。好，日晕，好，你可以知道说，就是那个光晕或是光环、光圈等等，它就是那样的东西，让它看起来比实际的要更大一些。
Yeah, halo is also the thing that is above, angels. Like when we draw angels, there's like a little circle around their head. That's a halo as well. And here I want to call attention to the author because they really took time to try to use different words that mean the same thing. In the previous sentence, we saw larger. In this sentence, we see bigger. Yeah, that's a challenge for authors a lot of times to try to find different words that have the same meaning so that they're not repeating themselves too much. Okay. In psychology, this idea is used as a metaphor to describe a mental shortcut known as the halo effect.
好，我们来看一下啊 ，in psychology， 在心理学里面，我们 Day 2的时候会介绍跟这个字有关的 psychologist， 好，就是心理学家。我们今天先介绍 psychology 这个学科，在心理学这个学门里面呢 ，this idea is used as a metaphor。Metaphor 的意思就是指一种比喻的这种说法，一种意象，一种比喻 ，to describe a mental shortcut。在脑中呢，就会出现一些心理的捷径。比方说，你看到一个人，哦，黑色皮肤的，哦，他好会打篮球，哦，这个很会打棒球。你在看到 Steven 老师的时候，觉得，哦，他应该会打匹克球吗？我不知道。你会做一些这样子预测，好，这种地方叫做 mental shortcut。就事后才发现到说，哦，老师，哦，好讨厌运动。他就说 known as the halo effect， 就变成是光环效应，好，是这种。就是变成是说，今天你看到一个人，他有一个特质，然后你就推想说，哇，这个人他长这么帅，或是他应该很会运动吧，或是哦，这个人这么成绩这么好，他应该很聪明吧。很多时候都是这种自己在推断，可能是有一些偏见存在的。
Yeah, it's just your brain trying to make quick judgments, and you're trying not to use too much brain power to do it. So you just take shortcuts with your brain. So a lot of things that you use with your brain, we say mental. Okay, that's the adjective to use. All right, let's take a short break. This phenomenon occurs when people form an overall impression of a person based on a single positive trait.
好，我们来看这一段的第一句话哦。这一段他说 this phenomenon， 先看到这个字 phenomenon， 这个字不好拼，好，要特别注意一下它的拼法。然后它的复数形更酷了，你要把它最后面那个 on 把它变成 a， 变成 phenomena， 就变成它的复数。好，这是指现象的意思。这种现象呢 occurs when people form an overall impression of a person based on a single positive trait。Trait 这个字指的是指特质的意思，它也可以指我们身上的一些，比方说眼睛大或小啦，或等等，这种也是可以用当作是特质。那在这边的话，我们看到 impression 这个字的意思就是指印象 ，form an overall impression 整体的印象 of a person， 对一个人形成整体的印象是靠着 based on a single positive trait， 这就是单一的这种正面的特质，去想说哇。这个人这方面这么厉害，可见其他方面也很厉害吧？这样的推测。
Yeah, so here we see when people form an overall impression. You could also use the verb when people have an overall impression. Just form 有一种形成
的感觉，
一个感觉。And then based on a single positive trait， 就是根据一个 one positive trait. All right. I see this a lot, and actually, when I don't mean to attack doctors. I know a lot of doctors are amazing, but in Asian culture, when someone says they're a doctor, that one positive trait will make a lot of people be like, oh my God, they must be so smart in every single way. Yeah, but then, stuff like that, I always think like there must be a lot of biases.
对。
So we'll talk about that word bias soon as well. But it's just like, just one positive trait doesn't necessarily mean that that person is great in all respects, in all angles. Yeah, it's just something I always found very interesting.
Yeah, 没有错。所以老师就提到说，很多时候提到说，哦，他是医生哦，哇，那一定很聪明，好像把所有的面向都觉得他一定都很厉害。老师刚刚提到一个很重要的字，叫做 bias。Bias 的拼法很简单，是 B-I-A-S， 然后如果说是变成复数的话，加 es，biases 就可以了，指的是偏见。所以我们后面还会提到这些字。那在这边的话，我们先去知道一下说，哦，我们很容易抓到一个正面的特质，就把它以偏概全的说，啊，这个人其他方面应该都很厉害。
Yeah, you just have an overall idea of someone just by looking at one thing. Okay. I think that's kind of confusing in my opinion. If one good quality is observed in an individual, the brain often unconsciously creates a halo around that person.
啊，所以在这边他告诉你说，哦，什么叫做 the halo effect？ 他后面继续细讲了。If one good quality 就一个很好的特质呢 is observed 被观察到了 in an individual， 在这个人身上看到了一个好特质 ，the brain 好，我们的脑袋呢 often unconsciously creates a halo。Around that person， 我们脑中自动会帮他加一个有点像是佛陀啦，它后面不是有个 halo，right？ 或者是老师刚刚提到的 angels， 后面加一个光环，说哇，其他方面一定都很厉害呀，我们就会下意识不晓得，然后没有意识到自己在做这样的事情，你可以说 unconsciously， 下意识呢，无意识的情况下就会帮他加一个光环，帮他说哇，其他方面一定也很强。
Yeah, so we also have a word subconsciously. S-U-B-C-O-N-S-C-I-O-U-S-L-Y subconsciously 就是潜意识的去做事，这是 unconsciously 是无意识的。Okay, so then 有意识的是 consciously. Okay, just to let you know the difference between those three. As a result, people tend to make quick judgments and assume the person's other traits are positive as well.
好，我们来看这句话 as a result， 好，这个 result 这个字的话就是结果 as a result 就是因此的意思。我们后面还会看到 result 这个字搭配的这个动词片语叫 result in， 在这边的话我们先知道说哦 as a result 的 result 指的是结果的意思。因此呢，好 as a result people tend to make quick judgments。我们刚刚在前面的副标题里面提到 judge 这个字，在这个美式的英文拼音里面Judgment 这个字，我们会先把 judge 最后那个 e 拿掉，再加上 ment， 就变成我们的对什么事情下的判断。所以 make quick judgments and assume the person's other traits are positive as well。我们就会在脑中做一个很快的这个 mental shortcut。他说啊，这个东西很快下判断，说他一定其他东西很强。And assume 就是假设、假定。尤其是在还没有证据去支持的时候，我先这样预想，可以用 assume。You make assumptions， 好，这种概念。The person's other traits are positive as well， 就说哦，他其他的这个特质一定也很赞。
Yes, so as a result, you could also use the word therefore. Okay, 因此 people tend to make quick judgments. Tend to do something just means they're likely to do something. Okay, they're likely to make quick judgments. That means that they're making these judgments like right away without thinking too much. Okay, and then assume, this verb, when we're learning it in America, we like to use this saying, if you assume, you will make an ass out of you and me.
Oh,
okay. Now, ass in this situation, it can be a bad word, but it can also mean a donkey. Okay, and it can make you look like a donkey, make you and I look like donkeys, like we're really stupid, right?
Yes.
If you assume, 因为你假设是 you make an assumption about someone or make a judgment about someone without proof. Okay, so you could possibly be making a false judgment, and that makes you and I both look bad.
Yeah, 没错，不然我们两个像笨蛋一样。
Yes. So I always like that way to remember what assume means.
没错。
Okay. All right. Let's take a short break. For instance, in school, a teacher might favor a student just because the student is always polite and well-behaved. I do like how this paragraph starts out because it instantly lets us know, like, you know, some people might be reading the first two paragraphs and they might not know exactly what a halo effect is, and they might not know exactly what it means overall. So let me give you an example so that you're able to have a concrete example of what is meant by the halo effect.
老师刚刚用到一个字很棒哦，叫 concrete 啊，指的就是很具体的 C-O-N-C-R-E-T-E concrete 就是非常非常具体的一个例子。所以前面两段他都在叙述什么东西叫 the halo effect， 到了后面他马上丢一个例子给你，就说哦，对对对，我们班上就有这种人。好，他就说了 ，for instance， 举例来说吧 ，in school a teacher might favor a student just because the student is always polite and well behaved。好，老师可能会偏爱某个学生，为什么呢？因为这个学生总是彬彬有礼啊，举止得体啊，好，觉得说啊很棒。我们刚刚在这个录影中间的时候，那个 Steven 老就是说啊，你看他平常直接看他乖乖样子，其实，所以到他就觉得说，哦，我可以做出乖乖样子，让对方或是让老师觉得说，哦，这孩子很乖，很有礼貌。
Yes. Similarly, If a coworker graduated from a top university, others might automatically assume they will perform well at work.
好，你看 similarly 指的意思就是同样的、类似的情况。similar 这个字的话本身就是类似的，它是个形容词，加上 ly 变成副词。好，同样的 ，if a worker graduated from a top university， 很多顶尖大学毕业的这个同事 ，others might automatically 就自动的，unconsciously assume they will perform well at work。如果说今天有顶大的这个人毕业了，来到我们公司的话，说哇，你是叉叉大学毕业的，一定很强很厉害。有时候搞不好发现，不行有可能有这种情况。Automatically 就是自动的，它可以对应到我们刚刚前面提到的这个 unconsciously， that means without knowing it。在不知情的情况之下，或者在自己没有察觉到的情况下，就做了这样的判断。
Yes, and then when you do well at work, we usually we can also use that verb perform, even though it might mean to 表演，但是 at work it just means how well you do at work. Okay, and then similarly, to start this particular sentence is because we're not talking about school anymore. We're talking about a similar situation, but in work instead. So we're using similarly this adverb to know there's a transition going from that setting to a different setting. Okay, yeah, and this kind of goes with what I was saying about doctors. Like, yeah, I love doctors. Doctors are amazing. But then some people, like, for instance, my aunt, she's very traditional minded. Okay. So then she thinks because you're a doctor, because you went to a top university, you must be smart in all respects, in all aspects. So then anything, she's like, ask him, he'll know. I'm like, but this is about architecture. Why would he know about architecture?
Yeah.
Or this is about like, you know, like something outside of medicine. It's just some people really do have that, like once they label you as smart or they label you as someone who is very, you know, like a role model, like you could do no wrong. You could do no wrong. 就 do no wrong 就是说你都不会做错，
就不会做错，不会做错决定。
Yeah, but no one is perfect, you know. Like everyone is smart in a different way. So everyone has positive traits in different angles. So you can't assume that someone is going to be 100% always like going to be at the top of their game or be perfect in every regard.
Yeah.
That's just something I really believe in. It kind of makes me like irks me. IRK
不舒服，
让我有点不舒服。
不舒服。
Because I hear it all the time. I'm like, you know, can't think that way. Okay.
阿姨不会看这个节目哈。
She'll be fine. If she watches it, she won't know which aunt I'm talking about.
Okay.
Cool. These examples show how a favorable first impression can be misleading.
这句话里面有两个重要的字，一个叫做 favorable。favorable 指的就是让人家喜欢的。他说 these examples 这些例子呢都可以显示出 how a favorable first impression 让大家喜欢的第一印象呢 can be misleading 可能会误导你。你看到说这个人某个面向很好，你觉得哇其他方面都很好，以偏概全。所以 misleading 这个词的话是来自于 lead 引导。那你今天前面加了 mis， 那就变成误导。好，这个 mis 的话就会是一个 negative 比较负面的 understanding。misunderstanding， 好，类似这样的话，你可以知道这个字跟它背后的含义。
Yes, and favorable. We saw favor a student in the first sentence of this paragraph, which means showing approval or preference for someone. So favorable is just the adjective form. Okay, it means expressing approval. So these examples demonstrate or show how being approved by people, this first impression can be misleading.
没错。
Okay, let's take a short break. Trusting first impressions too much often results in poor decision-making because not all the relevant facts are examined.
好，我们来看这一段的第一句话哦。Trusting first impressions too much， 好，这个东西整块它就是一个主词，也就是名词啊。Trusting first impressions too much， 太过度的相信第一印象的话 ，often results in poor decision making， 尤其常常会导致一些很糟糕的这种决策结果。这个 results in 就是我们刚刚所讲过的哈，导致。You can say leads to，can say results in or brings about， 都是指导致什么样的结果。我们前面有学过 as a result， 指的就是因此结果。 result 这个字本身就是结果嘛，在这边的话 result in 这个动词片语很好用，就是会导致后面决策呢会有错误。Why? Because not all the relevant facts are examined. 不是所有的这种相关的这些事实面向都被仔细的审视，所以你没有机会去看看这个面向。回到刚刚 Steven 老师说的这个话题，他说哦，他是这个医生啊，他应该什么都知道，万事通，像 Google 一样。我们问他一些跟建筑学有关的，他应该也晓得吧？这种东西就是你怎么知道他对建筑学有兴趣，或是有涉猎？这个是 relevant facts， 就是指相关的一些事实没有经过你再去查核、再去检验，这种情况下的话，就会导致你决策的偏误。
Right, so relevant is an adjective. It just means important to the situation, okay? And then here I also want to call attention to that adjective poor, because a lot of people think poor just means like
很穷
without money, right? But poor can also just mean weak or bad decision making, not so good, okay?
没错。
While these quick judgments can help us save time, they stop us from seeing others objectively.
好，他就说 while， 各位把这个 while 圈起来。当你提到 while 这个字的时候，多半你要讲两件事情 ，either 它们是同时发生，或者是你要呈现这两件东西的对比性。在这个地方的话，我们指的是对比性。他说 while these quick judgments， 虽然呢你脑中建立心理捷径，快速判断 can help us save time， 它可以帮助我们节省时间，但是呢 they stop us from seeing others objectively。好，意思就是它却可以会让我们没有办法很客观的去看待我们面前这个人实际的这种情况，因为你已经先入为主的有这样子 ，it's like a confirmation bias， 就变成是你先有这个想法了，你再会去收集对你有利的证据去支持你这个想法，你就看不到真相了。所以在这个地方，我们看到这个 objectively 指的就是很客观的去看待其他人。
And stop us from doing something. So stop someone from doing something. 就是阻止一个人去做一件事情. Just make sure the verb after from is ing form. Another verb you could use is prevent us from doing something. Prevent 就是也是挡住，也是阻止一个人去做一件事情。Prevent 是 P-R-E-V-E-N-T. And a lot of times, a lot of my students have a hard time distinguishing between subjective and objective. So I just kind of want to maybe give you a way to differentiate between the two. So objective is 客观. It's something that doesn't change. Like an object, 一个东西, it will never change. That's an object for life. It's not going to change, based on how you see it. But subjective, when we say that you are subject to your own opinion, we say that 你有你的自己去看待这个事情的权利. So subjective can be changed. Okay, a subject can be, but object will never change. So object 是客观, 然后 subject 是主观。
哦，好方便的方式。所以 object 这个字本身就是物品嘛，物品本身不会变，它等于是在任何情况、任何时间点去看它都不会变。所以客观看待的话，它是一个不会变的事情。用这样的方式去记 objective 客观 subjective 主观，这是一个非常好的记法。
Yeah, because it took me a long time too. I was like, subjective. Yeah, so that was like my way of remembering. So hopefully it will help you as well. Learning about the halo effect can help us judge others more fairly.
最后的结论就告诉你了。Learning about the halo effect， 好，知道这个光环效应这件事情的话，你要知道它，你才会感受到它对你这种思考的这种影响的范围，对不对？你会意识到它的存在。Learning about the halo effect， 知道光环效应 can help us， 可以帮助我们 judge others more fairly， 或者是你可以说 judge others in an unbiased manner， 指的就是用一种比较不会有偏见的方式去看待其他人。
So help someone do something. So the verb that comes after help is in the present tense as well. Okay, so help someone do something. Help others judge others more fairly. So I like how there's a more here because it means that if you say that it helps us judge others fairly, that means 100% of the time you're going to judge in a fair way. But that's not always going to be the case.
Yeah.
We're human. We're going to have our biases or we're going to have our assumptions. So it's just more fairly. Probability of 一点点更好一点点. All right. So tomorrow we're going to learn about something else that's completely different from the halo effect. So I'm sure you guys will want to learn more about this subject. So we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.